down. In the beginning of the show, this is season 2. Well, most people have already seen it by now. All right, so let's Google Nobody Wants This. Not Google, sorry, I don't do Google, DuckDuckGo. So let's see where our investigative journey takes us. Nobody Wants This. Of course, I always go to Wiki. I feel like it provides the best detail. My sister always prefers IMDb, but for me it's Wiki generally. And I do not take it as my only source. I just use it as my jump off point. Alright, so what do we know? It's an American romantic comedy starring Kristen Bell and Adam Brody. The couple share their chemistry is really good. Alright, so what is a romantic comedy? We're gonna go down the rabbit hole. It's actually generally one of my favorite genres, romantic comedies, action. So Nobody Wants This is a romantic comedy. Kristen Bell and Adam Brody are the two main lead characters. All right. So right now we're Googling what a romantic comedy is. Not Googling. I think it's just like a colloquial term for just like looking something up. Google. All right, everybody knows romantic comedy, also known as rom-com, a subgenre of comedy and or romantic fiction. So it's like two different genres put together, focusing on lighthearted, humorous plot lines centered on romantic ideas such as how love is able to surmount all obstacles. That's pretty true. When you look at romantic comedies, they are usually pretty light. When you think of feel-good movies, you think rom-coms generally, unless you're not a fan of rom-coms, then you're feel-good movies or something else. Maybe inspiring movies or action or thrillers. There's a lot of people who are really into thrillers. All right, yeah, they surmount all obstacles. So usually by the end of a romantic comedy, the couple has overcome their differences and end up together. Okay. So romantic comedy evolved from ancient Greek comedy, medieval romance, and 18th century restoration comedy, later developing into subgenres like screwball comedies, career woman comedies, and 1950s sex comedies in Hollywood. Hi, Michelle. How are you? All right, so let's unpack that. So rom-com, let's break that down. Romance and comedy. Comedic fiction, usually comedic fiction come from fiction. All right, let's unpack that. Let's go down the comedy section. So we're probably gonna end up in like a crazy, thank you for the like, we're probably gonna end up in like nowhere near where we began. Okay. So have patience with me. It's my very first one. I'm trying to do the investigation while I'm online. Okay. Comedy is a genre of dramatic works intended to be humorous or amusing by inducing laughter, especially in theater, film, stand-up comedy, television, radio, books, or any other entertainment medium. So we did the comedy first. Is a genre. So rom-com was a subgenre. Comedy is a genre of dramatic works. So let's go. What is a genre? Genre, it's a French word. French for kind or sort. Kind of sort. I mean, most people have pretty much figured that out by now. If you've ever heard the word genre before. So now you know it originates from the French words that mean kind or sort. Hi Benny, how are you? Is any style or form of communication in any mode, written, spoken, digital, artistic, etc., with socially agreed upon conventions developed over time. In popular usage, it normally describes a category of literature, music, or other forms of art or entertainment based on some set of stylistic criteria, as in literary genres, film genres, music genres, comic genres, etc. That's true. Usually, when you think genre, you're thinking a book or movies or music. Often works fit into multiple genres by way of borrowing and recombining these conventions. Standalone text works or pieces of communications may have individual styles. By genres are amalgams. So like amalgams are usually when you mesh things together. It's a combination of things to make something new. Of these texts based on agreed upon or socially inferred conventions. Some genres may have rigid, strictly adhered guidelines. You can generally see that. You have, over time, I feel like with the subgenres have developed that you don't have to follow this specific line anymore, and you see that in a lot of new works. Some genres, we already said, the proper use of specific genre is important for a successful transfer of information, so that you can get your so you can get your point across. All right. So we went with the word genre, found out it was French. So let's look up the word French. Oz, hello, how are you? French or langue Francois. My French, my high school and college French are pretty much out the window these days. Is a Romance language of the Indo-European family. So here we come right back to the word romance. Look at that. We went like 3 pages away from when we started our rom-com, and we ended up right back as a romance language. So you see how everything is like end up connected. So French is a romance language. Sorry, I want to read the rest of that first paragraph. Like all other Romance languages, it descended from the Vulgar Latin of the Roman Empire. French evolved from the Northern Old Gallo-Romance, a descendant of the Latin spoken in Northern Gaul. Its closest relatives are the other languages Dual. That's a new word for me. Dual. languages historically spoken in northern France and in southern Belgium, which French, Francien, largely supplanted. It was also influenced by native Celtic languages of northern Roman Gaul and by, so usually when I hear the word Gaul, I think of France. Roman Gaul and by the Germanic Frankish language of the post-Roman Frankish invaders. As a result of French and Belgian colonialism from the 16th century onward, it was introduced to new territories in the Americas, Africa, and Asia, and numerous French-based Creole languages, most notably Haitian Creole, were developed. A French-speaking person or nation may be referred to as a francophone in both English and French. So yeah, French became one of those languages that was largely, as the history that I know, French was one of those languages that was largely used as a diplomatic language. Yeah, like English is today. There is a lot of French words in the English language that we use colloquially or like in everyday life. The biggest influence was that it was used as a diplomatic language, usually during, I can't remember the years, but the Russian Empire used, like if you were from a wealthier family, they used French rather than Russian to speak. Yep, I'm okay, Cam. How are you? So let's go with what is a Romance language? Hey Sean, how are you? Did you have the baby yet? I was like wondering, I was like yesterday because I thought I was gonna go live and I was like, I wonder if Sean had his baby. He kept saying 3 weeks. All right, the Romance languages, also known as the Latin or Neo-Latin languages, are the languages that directly descended from Vulgar Latin. They are the only context extent subgroup of the Italic branch of the Indo-European language family. The 5 most widely spoken Romance languages by number of native speakers are Spanish, official language in, so 489 million people speak Spanish. Official language in Spain, Equatorial Guinea, Mexico, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and most of Central and Southern and South America. Widely spoken in the United States of America. Portuguese, I believe there's some, no, maybe not. I'll take that back until I find out more. Portuguese, 240 million speakers of Portuguese. Official in Portugal, Brazil, Portuguese speaking Africa, Timor-Leste, and Macau. French, as we know, we already saw that French. Yep, she's beautiful. October 8th, my boys for the military came to the birth. It was amazing. Oh my God, congratulations. What was the name you picked out? I think you told me once, but I can't remember. Oh, congratulations. Everybody, congratulations. You just had a baby in October. All right, where were we? French, 80 million speakers. Official in 26 countries, but majority native in far fewer. Italian, 67 million speakers. Elsie Olivia, that's so cute. Oh my God. That's such a cute name. That's a good one. You guys did good. That was a good name. How's the big sis doing? Italian, 67 million speakers of Italian. Official in Italy, Vatican City, San Marino, Switzerland, a minority language in Croatia. I did not know that they spoke Italian in Croatia. Regional in Slovenia. Really? That's all new. Um, I'm talking to him on on YouTube. And regional Slovenia. That these are all new to me, and Brazil. Brazil, Santa Teresa, Espíritu Santo, and Encantado. Rio Grande del Sul, Romanian, 25 million speakers, official in Romania, Moldova, and the autonomous province of let me see if I can get this. Vojvodina in Serbia, minority language in Hungary, the rest of Serbia, and Ukraine. I didn't know that it was popular. That was so popular then. Okay. That was all new to me, which is why we're doing this. How's it been? Are you on paternity leave, Sean? All right, so let's follow the next line. So let's go with languages. This is why I like. I know that Wikipedia isn't always like the exactly accurate, but it does give me a good sense of like where we're at. So Romance language. Now we're following the language. We're tugging at that string. Language is a structured system of communication that consists of grammar and vocabulary. It is the primary means by which humans convey meaning, both in spoken and signed forms, and may also be conveyed through writing. Human language is characterized by its cultural and historical diversity, with significant variations observed between cultures and across time. Human languages possess the properties of productivity and displacement, which enable the creation of an infinite number of sentences and the ability to refer to objects, events, and ideas that are not immediately present in the discourse. The use of human languages relies on social convention and is acquired through learning. Yep, they gave me 2 months. Love Lockheed. Yeah. That's awesome. 2 months of paternity leave. That's congrats. That way you can bond with the baby and help your wife. How's she coping? All right, so language, everybody knows language. We speak it, we see it, it's written, it's in our daily life. Without language, we wouldn't have what we're exploring today when nobody wants us. TV shows, movies, music. We just would be grunting at even grunts. At one point, I would say was like the very basic, most basic part of human language, I believe, because grunting was a form of communicating at some point before or spoken language came to be. So we're gonna go communication. All right, follow. Don't. I don't want to lose you guys. She's good. My mother-in-law is staying with us. It's been a big help. I can imagine that's a big help. New baby is super overwhelming. All right. Communication is commonly defined as the transmission of information. Its precise definition is disputed, and there are disagreements about whether. Oh, shoot. I forgot to plug in my computer. Disputed, and there are disagreements about whether unintentional or failed transmission are included, and whether communication not only transmits meaning but also creates it. I would be on the side that it transmits and it also creates. Models of communication are simplified over views of its main components and their interactions. Many models include the idea that a source uses a coding system to express information in the form of a message. The message is sent through a channel to a receiver who has to decode it to understand The main field of inquiry, investigating, and communication is called communication studies. Give me 1 second, I gotta plug in my computer. Well, okay. Did I ask you already? How's the toddler faring? Is she liking being a big sister? Crisis averted. Okay, let's go there. All right. All right, so communication, it's information pretty much. Sounds like a sick kid in the background. Heard the coughing. Yes, mouth breather. Yeah, my niece is she's kind of sick. She's been like having the how she calls it, the coughies. All right, so communications, information. Yeah, she's having a hard time getting over it. She's been sick like last week, but like I've been talking to other people and they are all sick too. So, okay. So information is an abstract concept that refers to something which has the power to inform. Of course, information, inform. It pretty much, you know, letting people know something. Okay. At the most fundamental level, it pertains to the interpretation, perhaps formally, of that which may be sensed or their abstractions. Any natural process that is not completely random and any observable pattern in any medium can be said to convey some amount of information, whereas digital signs and other data use discrete signs to convey information. Whereas digital signs and other data use discrete signs to convey information other than phenomena and artifacts such as analog signals, poems, pictures, music, or other sounds and current occurrence convey information in a more continuous form. Information is not knowledge itself, but the meaning that may be derived from a representation through interpretation. So what it means is that it's not just like if you see code or just a random set of letters, that in itself is not information unless you have a way to decipher that information. So information is an abstract concept. So let's find out what an abstract concept is. Abstraction is the process of generalizing rules and concepts from specific examples. Literal, real, or concrete signifiers first principles or other methods. The result of the process, an abstraction, is a concept that acts as a common noun for all subordinate concepts and connects any related concepts as a group, field, or category. So it's pretty much like a roadmap. You know what I mean? Like a roadmap in a way to understand and to categorize. Abstractions and levels of abstraction play an important role in the theory of general semantics. Originated, Val, hello, welcome. In theory of general semantics, originating by Alfred Korzybski. Guys, we're really working on my name pronunciation today. Alfred Korzybski, Anatole Rappaport wrote, "An abstracting is a mechanism by which an infinite variety of experiences can be mapped on short noises, words. And abstraction can be constructed by filtering the information, content of concept, or any observable phenomenon, selecting only those aspects which are relevant for a particular purpose. For example, abstracting a leather soccer ball to the more general idea of a ball selects only the information on general ball attributes and behavior, including but not eliminating the other phenomenal and cognitive characteristics of that ball, particular ball. In a type token distinction, a type, e.g. a ball, is more abstract than its token, that leather soccer ball." Ooh, even that got me. This is why I'm following everything through, because it gives me a further understanding of what we are reading and talking about. So I'm only gonna follow this line until I finish the page I'm writing on, and then we'll circle back to how we began. Okay. So abstraction is the process of generalizing rules and concepts. So what are rules? Rules of inference are ways of deriving conclusions from premises. They are integral parts of formal logic, serving as norms of logical structure of valid arguments. If an argument with true premises follows a rule of inference, then the conclusion cannot be false. Modus ponens, an influential rule of inference. So when you infer something, you take meaning of it, you believe you know what it means. Like right now I'm doing a live, so you infer that I have a computer, you know, or I have access to a camera or the Wi-Fi, so that I can do this. You don't specifically know that I own it, but you believe I own it because I'm on this live right now. Okay. Inference connects these two premises of the form: if P, then Q, and P to the conclusion Q, as in the argument. If it rains, then the ground is wet. It rains, therefore the ground is wet. There are many other rules of inference for different patterns of valid arguments, such as modus tollens, disjunctive syllogism. I've read both these words before, just not together. Constructive dilemma, and existential generalization. Right. So rules are ways of deriving conclusion from premises. So what is a premise? A premise or premise is a proposition, a true or false declarative statement used in an argument to prove the truth of another proposition, called the conclusion. Arguments consist of a set of premises and conclusions. So you have one thing and then you end up with the other, right? So if you have this sort of premise, you're gonna have this sort of conclusion. So they always come in a set. An argument is meaningful for its conclusion only when all of its premises are true. If one or more premises are false, the argument says nothing about whether the conclusion is true or false. For instance, a false premise on its own does not justify rejecting an argument's conclusion. To assume otherwise is a logically false fallacy called denying the antecedent. I haven't read like out loud in a while. So one way to prove that a proposition is false is to formulate a sound argument with a conclusion that negates that proposition. Okay, so everyone's had an argument before, And both parties generally believe, both or multiple parties believe that they are the ones that are right. So, um, you know what you know. So each party believes they're right because they know what they know. But only one of them is right unless this is an opinion. This is an opinion based. Only one of them would be right following this conclusion because there is one um, there's one premise and there's one conclusion because it comes in a set and it has to be true to be able to have a conclusion. So now you guys know the word for when you have an argument. Okay, so a premise is a proposition. All right, what is a proposition? All right, let's see. And these words have been molded over time. They've been taken and people have run with them, really. Like when, let's say in the regular day when somebody says a proposition, you would think that somebody's like trying to get you to do something that either you don't want to or is like out of your way. I mean, if you were thinking, I don't know. It depends on the situation that you're in. If somebody's propositioning you, they're trying to coax you into doing something that generally you don't want to. A proposition is a statement that can be either true or false, so it doesn't have to be right. It is a concept of philosophy of language, semantics, logic, and related fields. Propositions are the objects denoted by declarative sentences. So when you're saying something and it's not a question, so you're declaring something. For example, the sky is blue expresses the proposition that the sky is blue. Unlike sentences, propositions are not linguistic expressions. So the English sentence "snow is white," as the German "Schnee ist weiß," denote the proposition. Propositions are also serve as the objects of belief and other propositional attitudes, such as when someone believes the sky is blue. So propositions also serve as objects of belief. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. And other propositional attitudes, such as when someone believes the sky is blue. So I would take that as like in our English language, blue is the color for which we say that the sky is like blue is that's how we know it fits into that category of like our colors, and the color that was assigned to that shade or that hue is blue, and when you look up at the sky it matches that key pretty much. So like if you come from some maybe a different planet and that hue was assigned red, so instead of the sky being the color blue for them, the sky is red, you know. All right, so it is a concept in the philosophy of language. Look at we came right back to language again. So now we're on the philosophy of language. Philosophy of language is the philosophical study of the nature of language. It is so we're approaching language not as I'll come back to that thought, but we're approaching it as language in the philosophical form. It investigates the relationship between language users, and the world. Investigations may include inquiry into the nature of meaning, intentional reference, the constitution of sentences, concepts, learning, and thought. Gottlob Frege and Bertrand Russell were pivotal figures in analytic philosophy's linguistic turn. These writers were followed by Ludwig Wittgenstein, Tractus Logico Philosophicus, the Vienna Circle, Logical Positivism, Positives, never heard any of these words, and Willard Van Orman Kuhn. Okay. I don't think I needed to read that one, but okay, let's go with that. So it's the philosophy of language is the philosophical, sorry, it's a hard word when you speak both English and Spanish. It's a hard word to say. Philosophical study of the nature of language. So what's a philosophical study? I was spelling it right. I thought I was spelling it wrong. Philosophy. All right. So one of the biggest, turns in civilized society was the study of philosophy. Philosophy from the ancient Greek. So we know it comes from the ancient Greek philosophia. Love of wisdom is a systemic study of general and fundamental questions concerning topics like existence, knowledge, mind, reason, language, and value. It is a rational and critical inquiry that reflects on its methods and assumptions. I want to read the next paragraph because I just want a little bit more concept on it. Historically, many of the individual sciences such as physics and psychology formed part of philosophy. That's pretty interesting that sciences such as physics and psychology, you wouldn't generally associate those two things together, form part of philosophy. So like usually philosophers studied physics and psychology. You could tell that by like early philosophers. I think we're lost in that word. However, they are considered separate academic disciplines in the modern sense of the term. See that's what I was saying, that you generally would not think of science, physicists and psychologists in the term of philosophy. Influential traditions in the history of philosophy include Western, Arabic, Persian, Indian, and Chinese philosophy. When you think of those societies, because they're a lot older than our current societies, you think of philosophy. It's like they go hand in hand. Western philosophy originated in ancient Greece and covers a wide area of philosophical subfields. Most people, if you've had any science, history classes, you know that philosophy came from ancient Greece and covers a wide area of philosophical subfields. A central topic in Arabic Persian philosophy is the relation between reason and revelation. Indian philosophy combines the spiritual problem of how to reach enlightenment with the exploration of the nature of reality and the ways of arriving at knowledge. Chinese philosophy focuses principally on practical issues about the right social conduct, government, and self-cultivation. It's pretty interesting because you can see that in the way each of these societies developed over time. All right, so let's follow the ancient Greek path. But if you think I've gone off on a tangent far from where I was talking about, so you guys see that I'm talking about this show that I just watched. Is number 1 on Netflix right now. Nobody wants this. It's not a far off topic from the show because the girls, the women, their whole thing is they're do a podcast on like daily life and what each of their experiences mean in their lives. And also the main character, the female main character, is having to decide if she's going to change her faith that she pretty much thought was non-existent for the person that she loves. But she's realizing she just can't change her faith or what she believes in just because this man came into her life. She is exploring that what it means to her, and she's waiting for it to actually speak to her to be able to go through with her conversion of religion or non-conversion of religion, and it's holding up their relationship pretty much. So they're pretty much in a limbo until she figures this out, and it causes a lot of strife in their relationship. All right, so let's follow the ancient Greek. Every time I think ancient Greek, I think of Hercules. The movie Hercules, for the Disney movie Hercules, pops into my head. So ancient Greek. Okay. Or Hellenic. Includes the forms of the Greek language used in ancient Greece and the ancient world from around 1500 BC to 300 BC. It is often roughly divided into the following periods: Mycenaean Greek, Dark Ages Greek, Archaic or Homeric Greek period, so Homeric like Homer, and the Classical period. Ancient Greek was the language of Homer, so I just mentioned this would be the Homeric period. Homer and the 5th century Athenian historians, playwrights, and philosophers. So we're back to philosophy, okay, because it did originate in ancient Greece. It has contributed many words to English vocabulary, and so if you guys think that you don't know anything about Greek or Greece, that you clearly do. If you've ever seen the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding, when the dad is always trying to do word association from any like word and say that it originated from Greek, he was not that far off. Okay. It has contributed many words to English vocabulary, so it was kind of far-fetched where he would thought every word was attributed to it, but he was not totally in the wrong. It has been a standard subject of study in educational institutions of the Western world since the Renaissance. That's pretty much, the Renaissance was the Enlightenment. So a lot of people believe the study of philosophy enlightens. You still want a boy, Sean? Oh, okay. Well, good luck with that. Maybe you'll get one. The Renaissance was pretty much the time of enlightenment, and people believe that study of philosophy is when people started becoming enlightened. And this article primarily contains information about the epic and classical periods of language, which are the best attested periods and considered most typically of ancient Greek. So they're not covering the Mycenaean Greek and the Dark Ages. I bet because the records are more incomplete from that time than that time. Doesn't mean that they didn't exist. They just don't have as many records of it, which is pretty sad because I think we can attribute more of like what has happened to us now if we knew more of our past. All right, so let's go with the Greek language. And I swear, if you think you don't know anything about Greek languages, you would like seriously be mistaken if you would follow the origin of a lot of words. All right, Greek language. This is more like the modern Greek, and you have the ancient Greek and the modern Greek. It's an Indo-European language. Here, that's that word again from the first thing we literally looked up, the Indo-European languages. So I think that's what we'll click into next. Is an Indo-European language constituting an independent Hellenic branch within the Indo-European language family. It is native to Greece, Cyprus, Italy, in Calabria and Salento, southern Albania, and other regions of the Balkans, Caucasus, the Black Sea coast, Asia Minor, and the Eastern Mediterranean. And I bet most people didn't know that. It has the longest documented history of any Indo-European language, spanning at least 3,400 years of written records. Its writing system of the Greek alphabet, which has been used for approximately 2,800 years. Previously, Greek was recorded in writing systems such as Linear B and the Cypriot syllabary. So it has the longest documented history. That's why so much of it has influenced on the English language. All right, so what is an Indo-European language? We've read it. So when we clicked in, we went, so like a brief recap, we started with Nobody Wants This, the TV show that's #1 on Netflix right now. So we know, we got from there that it's a romantic comedy. And then we did get the stars are Kristen Bell and Adam Brody. We found out that it's a romantic comedy. So romantic comedy is a subgenre of fiction. Romantic fiction and comedy is also a subgenre of romance and comedy. So we found that a genre is a dramatic works, okay? And genre comes from the word from the French word meaning kind or sort. French is a romance language. Language is a form of communication. So we have been working towards back to our point here. And communications, information, it's an abstract concept. There are rules and there's premises, and it comes a proposition. And then we have the philosophy of language. Philosophy, it comes from ancient Greek. And then the Greek language is an Indo-European language. That's where we're at right now. That is an Indo-European language that we have been reading since we got started. So you ask what Indo-European language is. Are a language family native to the northern Indian subcontinent, most of Europe, and the Iranian plateau, with additional native branches found in regions such as parts of Central Asia, Tajikistan and Afghanistan, southern India subcontinent, Sri Lanka and Maldives, and Armenia. Historically, Indo-European languages were also spoken in Anatolia and northwestern China. Some European languages of this family, English, French, Portuguese, Russian, Spanish, and Dutch, have expanded through colonialism in the modern period and are now spoken across several continents. The Indo-European family is divided into several branches or subfamilies, including Albanian, Armenian, Balto-Slavic, Celtic, Germanic, Hellenic, Indo-Iranian, and Italic, all of which contain present-day living languages as well as many more extinct branches. So if you thought that we didn't have anything, our language had nothing in common with people on the other side of the world, or like say Albania, Armenia, you'd think that English had no association, but it really does. It exists within the same family and subfamilies of the Indo-European languages. Hi, Lena. It's pretty interesting to know. Like you wouldn't know that it came from the Indian subcontinent, most of Europe and Iranian plateau. Like you wouldn't think to associate any of these languages together. But when you look at its history, which is so important to remember, we generally our languages come from similar backgrounds. How are you? Are you feeling any better? So, what is a language family? A bit better. How are you? I'm feeling a bit better as also. Yeah, I'm not feeling as bad as I was. I definitely have a little more energy than I did. So a language family is a group of languages related through this descent from a common ancestor called the proto-language of that family. The term family is a metaphor borrowed from biology, with the tree models used in historical linguistics analogs to analogous to a family tree, or to a phylogenetic trees of taxa used in evolutionary taxonomy. So it's pretty much in the way that they categorize animals, and so like biology, where they categorize animals and amphibians. You know how we're in the animal family? Well, that's the same way that they use to categorize languages. Linguists thus describe the daughter languages within a language family as being genetically related. So the way that humans are related and all that stuff is the same way that they view languages, that they are genetically, they are related. How I was talking about how these, we think that we have like no association with these countries and these continents, but everything is related to each other. Girls take care of Bobby, but boys go off and fight another man's war. That's very true. That's true, Sean. The divergence of proto-languages into daughter languages typically occur through geographical separation. So at one point, there are these theories that the world was all together. So Pangea at one point. So once the people started migrating and the world started separating, these languages started diversifying and becoming separate dialects. So with different regional dialects of proto-language undergoing different language changes and thus becoming distinct languages over time. So what we have seen in today's day and age, that we're here in the United States, I speak English and Spanish, I speak 2 languages, but I would not be able to understand somebody from from India. I wouldn't understand what, and even in India, there's like a million languages spoken. I don't know if it's a million, but there's thousands of languages, different languages spoken there. People from the southern part of India wouldn't understand the people from the northern part of India. They speak, Hindi, there's Tamil. A lot of people speak English, which is a recent development from colonialism. I say recent because in the history of the world, that would be more recent, So here we go again. See, I've already clicked on the word languages. We clicked on it a while ago. And right, you'd think I would go in on a tangent, but right, we're circling back to everything. Everything comes from languages, So we've already explored that topic. So what is a proto-language? And if you guys were confused on what language family is, it's just pretty much where that language originated from. So we all have a common language. We all started from a common language, and then we all, through migration and growing of population, the languages have changed over time and become their own dialects, pretty much. So what's a proto-language? In the tree model of historical linguistics, a proto-language is a postulated ancestral language from which a number of attested languages are believed to have descended by evolution, forming a language family. Proto-languages are usually unattested or partially attested at best. They are reconstructed by the way of comparative methods. So they're pretty much saying that they can't say for 100% for sure because, nobody was there when those languages were invented and when people started migrating. But because they can compare the languages to each other, they have similarities that you can see that they came from a similar place. You can't say, because they weren't there thousands of years ago when these languages were developed, but then they can compare the languages nowadays, or through what they have in history, and say, these languages are similar, and that's how I know that they came from a similar geographical location. I've been talking literally the entire time, and this thing's like, inactivity. Okay. Hopefully you guys got that. You should try out teaching. I should try out teaching. I'm right now like just like reading and stuff. I don't know. I don't know if I could teach. Like that's why I'm doing it online while I'm doing this investigation. I really like going down the rabbit hole when I like look one thing up, then it leads me to another. But I don't know if I can like straight up teach people. Maybe you guys are gonna be my students here on TikTok and on YouTube. Uh, so a tree model. So proto languages. I don't know if I 100% told you guys. Proto languages are pretty much what where the languages came from that we have nowadays. So they're like our the ancestors of these languages, pretty much, put it in a simpler form. So a tree model. In historical linguistics, the tree model, also Stambam genetic or cladistic model, is a model of the evolution of languages analog I can't say the word, analogous to the concept of a family tree. So, you've ever seen a family tree before, you've tried to trace back your ancestors, you've built a tree of like information, particularly in phylogenetic tree in the biological evolution of species. So that's what we're talking about. As with species, each language is assumed to have evolved from a single parent or mother language, with languages that share a common ancestor belong to the same language family. So there we go again. So we have the language family, and then we have historical linguistics is pretty much tracing back which was the mother languages. They still haven't figured out in its entirety, because I know that there are still people studying language to this day. So we studied the historical. So the tree model is trying to trace it back, pretty much. Drawing like a family tree of languages. This topic goes very well with you, as you have a love from comms and you have a major in global studies and minor in history. Yep, it really does go well with what I like to study, and my love for TV shows and movies. Okay, so historical linguistics, and we still haven't gotten to the bottom of the page yet. So I'm going, so that I don't go off of a complete tangent, we're going to circle back to the beginning. Historical linguistics, also known as diachronic linguistics. I don't know why it's becoming so difficult to say. Diachronic linguistics is the scientific study of how languages change over time. We're seeing how. So we started with proto languages. We started with the family tree model, on ways to how they organize it and how they go back. We got philosophy in here. What is the meaning of things? And we found out that sometimes philosophy was associated in the ancient eras with physics and psychology, which you wouldn't put those two things together. But everything just comes with the study of something. And you can see that they're all interconnected. So let's see, languages change over. So we're the study of how languages change over time. So that's what the history of linguistics is. It seeks to understand the nature and causes of linguistic change and to trace the evolution of languages. Historical linguistics involves several key areas of study, including the reconstruction of ancestral languages. So they try to rebuild these ancient languages so that we can get a clearer picture of how they evolved. The classification of languages into families, comparative linguistics, and the analysis of the cultural and social influences on language development. That's what I pretty much just said. I just said it before I read it. So pretty much you can see it's taking this study of the history of the languages. They try to piece it back together so that they can become a clear picture on how it developed, where it stemmed off at, and how the different migrations of peoples developed their language skills, and how that affected their cultural and social influences on, and how that affected language. This field is grounded in an uniformitarian principle which posits the processes of language change observed today were also at work in the past, unless there is clear evidence to suggest otherwise. So like if there's like actual historical context that we know 100% concrete that this tells you how it happened. Historical linguistics aim to describe and explain changes in individual language, explore the history of speech communities, and study the origins and meanings of words, etymology. So etymology pretty much studies the meanings of the words, not its history or how it came about. So we know that this is a science. Historical linguistics is literally a science. It's I would think they call it a soft science. And so we're studying language change. Everybody knows, even during one generation, language changes. We experience this with the phenomenon of the 6-7. You know, everyone is like, "Oh, what does 6-7 mean?" And we're like, we don't know. We didn't develop that one. We know what a 6, we know what a 7 is. We know what this hand gesture means. It means I don't know, or it could be anything. So you see these kids, they develop their own language, a way of communicating that they're saying I don't know, you know, and confusing the crap out of most adults that had to Google what 6-7 means. And there was like 80 explanations of it, and we still don't know what it means, which is the point. How rude of me. How have you been, sis? To me, I've been a little down, but I'm coming out of it. I feel a little better. Okay, so language change is the process of alteration in the features of single language. How have you been coping with the new baby and stuff, and being all leave? Language change is the process of alteration in the features of a single language or of languages in general over time. It is studied in several subfields of linguistics: historical linguistics, we just covered, social linguistics, and evolutionary linguistics. Traditional theories of historical linguistics identify 3 main types of change: systemic change in the pronunciation of phonemes, or sound change, borrowing, sorry, the chat's in the way. Borrowing in which features of language dialect are introduced or altered as a result of influence from another language or dialect, and analogical change in which the shape of grammatical behavior of the word is altered to more closely resemble that of another word. Research on language change generally assumes the uniformitarian principle, the presumption that we just read that word in the last one, the presumption that language changes in the past took place according in the same general principles as languages change visibly in the present. So language is fluid, it changes, it takes different shape. Every generation applies something new to it. You know what I mean? Language change usually does not occur suddenly, so no, it doesn't happen from one day to another, but I think with the technology and how instant information is nowadays, it could change from 1 second to another. Language change doesn't occur suddenly, but rather takes place via an extended period of variation during which I lost my place. Variation during which new and old linguistic features coexist. All living languages are continually undergoing change, So it's like a river. You know, you introduce something new to it, it'll eventually change. Some commentators use derogatory labels as corruption to suggest that language change constitutes a degradation. So, like, it loses its essence, pretty much like diluting something. So it gets corrupted. Um, Gradation in the quality of language. I mean, what a lot of people, a lot of adults would agree that, like, um, each generation of adults agrees that the kids are ruining the language. So, like, if you studied proper English and seeing kids nowadays speak English, they would lose their minds. You know what I mean? They lose they're like, well, they've corrupted our language, and I don't know what they've done to it. Institute degradation, especially when the change originates from human error or is a prescriptively discouraged usage, which I was saying that they don't want to use. Modern linguistics rejects this concept, since from a scientific point of view, such innovations cannot be judged in terms of good or bad. So you can't say this is a good change into the language or a bad change. John Lyons notes that any standard of evolution applied to language change must be based upon a recognition of the various functions a language is called upon to fulfill in the society which it uses it. So the language evolves depending on the society that uses it. We can see that as clear as day. Over enough time, changes in a language can accumulate to such an extent that it's no longer recognizable as the same language. So we in the United States speak American English. In England, they speak British English. And sometimes it's hard to understand each other. I speak Spanish that was developed in Puerto Rico, and I sometimes have to watch subtitles for movies that are from Spain because I do not understand what they're saying. It's hard to understand, and we technically speak the same language. They're just different dialects of that language, and over time it gets to the point where you don't understand each other, depending on like where you live. You know what I mean? And in like places like Puerto Rico, not just the Spanish language had influence in Puerto Rico. It was also the Taino language, which it's not as big as Spanish because most of its inhabitants died. But also you have the African slaves that were brought over. They also have influences on that Puerto Rican dialect of Spanish. Let's see, over time, it becomes no longer recognizable as the same language. For instance, modern English is the result of centuries of language change applying to Old English. Oh, I've read text even of like Middle English, and I have no idea what they're saying. Like, no clue. It's like really hard to understand. Even through modern English is extremely divergent from Old English in grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. If you guys ever tried to read a text from that time, it's really hard because they are not the same languages anymore. But modern English is a descendant of its ancestor, Old English, when multiple languages are all descended from the same ancestor language as the Romance languages are from Vulgar Latin. They are said to form a language family and be genetically related. This is where we come back to the genetics of language. Look right back to where Romance language. We're talking about Latin language family. You see that all this stuff is connected. It's all connected. We're coming back full circle. So we've already started language. If you've ever been on Wikipedia, you see that once you've clicked on something, it turns into this like lighter color. So we've already clicked languages. We studied that. We started also historical linguistics. Let's see what linguistics actually is. What was the page we were on previously? Language change. I forgot to write that down. Now we're going to go to linguistics. Linguistics is the scientific study of language. So we're right back here to scientific study. So if you didn't think that studying languages is a science, it is. So science is. We'll get to the origin of the word science later. The areas of linguistics analysis are syntax, rules governing the structure of a sentence. So the syntax is how you structure a language. Semantics, which is the meaning. Usually we use the word like when you look at something as semantics, it's the meaning of the word. Morphology, the structure of words. Phonetics, speech, sounds, and equivalent gestures in sign languages. Phonology. The abstracts. So phonetics, it's I'm pretty sure it's a Latin word, I believe. To hear. Phonology, the abstract sound system of a particular language, and analogous system of sign languages. And pragmatics, how the context of use contributes to meaning. So pragmatics is the meaning. So the context of use contributes to the meaning. And subdisciplines such as biolinguistics, the study of the biological variables and evolution of language, and psycholinguistics, the study of psychological factors as in human language, bridge many of these divisions. Here we go back again. Remember when we were talking about the study of philosophy and how psychology and like physics were involved in the ancient study of philosophy in ancient Greece. It's because all these things put together, I love Stitch. Hey, welcome. All these things together combine. They have more in common than you would think when you think of them individually. They come from the same place. That's why it's so important to study history of anything. You know what I mean? Language is it's the most important. You say one wrong thing and your entire meaning changes, you know what I mean? And it could either save you or doom you. Playing Fortnite. Okay, are you having fun? You guys winning? Alright, the analysis of syntax. So syntax. It's not generally a word we use in everyday language, unless you're like unless you're a grammar teacher or a teacher, period. In linguistics, syntax is the study of how words and morphemes combine to form larger units such as phrases and sentences. Central concerns of syntax include word order, grammatical relations, hierarchical sentence structure, constituency, agreement, the nature of cross-linguistics, variation, and the relationship between form and meaning, semantics. Diverse approach such as generative grammar and functional grammar offer unique perspectives on syntax, reflecting its complexity and centrality to understanding human language. So it's pretty much the things that make the language work. I'm great just feeding the little, then I'm gonna go take Emily to the park. The weather is great. Now, yeah, the weather's been really nice lately. So have fun. Have fun with that. Oh, you guys are in Florida, so it's nice. It's still nice and warm down there. So syntax is pretty much the study of how these things combined give it meaning. So if you take out something out of order, it doesn't have the same meaning to it. That's why it's so important when you're studying language, study to study grammar. All right, so what's a morpheme? Sounds like a drug. A morpheme is any of the smallest meaningful constituents within a linguistic expression, and particularly within a word. Many words are themselves standalone morphemes, while other words contain multiple morphemes. In linguistic terminology, this is the distinction relatively between free and bound morphemes. The field of linguistic study dedicated to morphemes is called morphology. So if you study morphemes, it's called morphology. Roxy88, welcome. So I think when they say free and bound morphemes is if something can have a meaning by itself without something combined to it, then that's free. And if it has no meaning, if it doesn't have what the rest of it, like let's say we're talking about like the word, let's see, I'm drawing a blank now. Word. Okay. So word has a meaning to it. If you look at were, it has no meaning. It needs the G at the end. You can't derive meaning from it. Maybe if you took the words or it has meaning, but without the word, without one letter, it changes the entire word and actually has no meaning. Respectively between free and bound. Okay, so we can look up free and bound morphemes. That was the next one. Free and bound morphemes. In linguistics, a bound morpheme is a morpheme, the elementary unit of morphosyntax that can appear only as part of a larger expression, while a free morpheme or unbound morpheme is one that can stand alone. A bound morpheme is a type of bound form, and free morpheme is a type of free form. So it pretty much danced around exactly what I was saying. So an occurrence in isolation, a form is a free form if it can occur in isolation as a complete utterance. Johnny is running, or Johnny, or running. This can occur as the answer to a question, such as what is he doing. A form that cannot occur in isolation is a bound form, e.g. Y is an ing, and Johnny is running. Non-occurrence is an isolation is given as the primary criterion for boundness in most linguistic textbooks. That's pretty much how I explained it. If you just give me ing, then I have no idea what you're talking about. But if you give me running, then we know it's an action, a verb, something is happening. So we've already looked up linguistics, morpheme. Oh, look at us. Okay. Affixes. What's an affix? I think we're going in a whole different other direction now. We'll see where that one leads. In linguistics, an affix is a morpheme, also it's a type of morpheme that is attached to a word stem. Just hit myself with the pen. Word stem to form a new word or word form. The main two categories are derivational and inflectional affixes. Derivational affixes such as Asian, anti, pre, etc. introduce a semantic change to the word they are attached to. Inflectional affixes introduce a syntactic change, such as singular into plural, e.g. e or s, or present simple tense into present continuous or past tense by adding ing, ed to an English word. All of them are bound morphemes. By definition, prefixes and suffixes may be separable. It means I can separate them. I can say the word affixes. So they're pretty much like things that you can attach to other words to give it a different meaning, to make a new word. Could we play Fortnite, me and you? Not right now. I'm not playing games right now. if you want to leave me a comment in my community, or I'm on TikTok, you can send me a message, and I'll set up a date for when I can play Fortnite. I haven't really been doing playing video games, but I could do one night of Fortnite, but not today. All right. So what's a word stem? In linguistics, a word stem is a word part responsible for a word's lexical meaning. The term is used with slightly different meanings depending on the morphology of the language in question. For instance, in Athabasca, ooh, that's a new word. Write that down. That's a new word thing. Athabascan linguistics, a verb stem is a root that cannot appear on its own and that carries the tone of the word. Typically, a stem remains unmodified during inflection with few exceptions due to epiphany. For example, in Polish, city, and okay, I'm not even going to attempt that. In English, sing, sang, sung, where it can be modified according to morphological rules or peculiarities, such as Cindy. Word stem comparisons across languages have helped reveal cognates that have allowed comparative linguistics to determine language families and their histories. We're back to language families and their histories. George Martins, welcome. Hello, how are you? Sorry. I think I need some water. I'm gonna get some water in a minute. So it's responsible for the lexical meaning. Don't worry, we're gonna look up what lexical meaning is in a second. The term is used to slightly different meanings depending on morphology. So it can be changed depending on epiphanies. A verb stem is a root that cannot appear on its own. So everybody knows what most people know what a root word is. It's the word that has to be there to be able to give something meaning. It's where all the origins of words come from. It's the root, like a tree. But stem words. Thank you, Mama. Term is used with slightly different meanings depending on morphology in question. Alright, so what is a word? Okay, now we're at what is a word? A word is a basilisk. A word is a basic element of language that carries meaning, can be used on its own, and it is uninterruptible. Got it. Despite the fact that language speakers often have an intuitive grasp of what a word is, there is no consensus among linguists on its definition, and numerous attempts to find specific criteria or the concept remain controversial. That's pretty insane. We live in 2025 and there is still no consensus among linguistics on the definition of a word. That's crazy. Different standards have been proposed depending. So pretty much nobody can come together to decide what what is cemented in stone, what a word is. Different standards have been proposed depending on how somebody will say a word and be like, that word is made up. I can't remember what I was watching. It said all words are made up. When you're like, oh, that word doesn't exist, it's not real, it's made up. All words are made up. At some point in time, they became known, and you derive meaning from it. But when people make up languages, it's a real language because all languages are made up. There's some more cemented than others and more known. Different standards have been proposed depending on the theoretical background and descriptive context. These do not converge on a single definition. Some specific definitions of the term word are employed to convey its different meanings at different levels of description, for example, based on phonological, grammatical, or orthographic basis. Others suggest that the concept is simply a convention used in everyday situations. So it's convention used. So they still have not even that cemented, or has like, is a conclusion yet. You know, it's not cemented in stone. The fact that it's a concept that it's a convention used in everyday situations. So like what most people would agreed on to say this is what a word is, giving a meaning. So what's meaning? Meaning, oh, look at this. When we looked up when we clicked on the word meaning, it gave us semantics, which we read about earlier. So meaning semantics together. Semantics is the study of linguistic meaning. It examines what meaning is and how words get their meaning. And so we're pretty much just like, it was just like walk that in circles, and how the meaning of complex expression depends on its parts. Part of this process involves the distinction between sense and reference. Sense is given by the ideas and concepts associated with an expression, while reference is the object to which an expression points. Semantics, excuse me. Semantic contrasts with syntax, which studies the rules that indicate how to create grammatically correct sentences, and pragmatics, which investigates how people use language and communication. Semantics, together with syntactics and pragmatics, is a part of semiotics. If you look at the little picture here, Apple, oh, you guys can't see it, but Apple, a central topic in semantics concerns the relation between language world and mental concepts. So what we understand at Apple is, and what word we gave it this word, and it has the meaning of this red fruit is an apple. You know what I mean? And that is the semantics. It's the meaning that we give a word. All right, so here's this philosophical definition of meaning. So we clicked on meaning and it gave us semantics, but because that type of meaning was the meaning associated to words. So in the philosophical language, meaning is a relationship between two sorts of things, signs, and kinds of things they intend, express, and signify. So the types of meaning vary according to the types of the thing that is being represented. There are the things which might have meaning, things that are also signs of other things, and therefore all are always meaningful, i.e. natural signs of the physical world and ideas within the mind. Things that are necessarily meaningful, such as words and nonverbal symbols. So pretty much what we as a society have come to believe that the relationship between the word and what we think the word is, and how it developed, and what in our brain we see when we talk about this word. All right, look at this. Let's further down. We're going into very heavy topics, but look at where we ended up again. Thought. This thought. And what picture we have is like the thinker. I don't know if you've ever seen this guy like this, The Thinker, by Auguste Rodin. He's a piece of Rodin in the garden of Musée Rodin in Paris. Thought is like such a heavy like heavy and not heavy topic all at the same time. But who studied thought? The ancient Greeks, ancient China, this is where all those philosophical questions came to be. In their most common sense, thought and thinking refer to cognitive processes that occur independently of direct sensory and stimulation. As most people think that, like, oh, there it goes. Think. It's a derivative of the word thought. Thinking. It's what happens in our brains when our synapses fire. You know what I mean? When we have stimulation, sensory stimulation. Um, I'm holding this pen. It's stimulating my senses. So I have this pen and I can think about the pen and what the pen can do. And my brain can control my hand, and I can express my thoughts onto this page and onto you people. So it's the cognitive process that occurs independently of direct stimulation. Core forms including judging, reasoning. A lot of people are judges, so that's comes from thought. Reasoning, concept formation, problem solving, and deliberation. Other processes such as entertaining an idea, memory, or imagination are also frequently considered types of thought. Unlike perception, these activities can occur without immediate input from the sensory organs. When you perceive something, it doesn't have to be directly stimulated from a sensory organ. In a broader sense, any mental event, including perception and unconscious processes, may be described as a form of thought. The term can also denote not the process itself, but the resulting mental states or systems of ideas. So just pretty much what goes on in your brain. And some people have a lot more going on, some people have nothing going on. It all depends. So what's cognitive? Cognitions are mental activities that deal with knowledge. They encompass psychological processes that acquire, store, retrieve, transform, or otherwise use information. Cognitions are a pervasive part of mental life, helping individuals understand and interact in the world. So it's pretty much like what our brains do. So we have a thought, but the cognition is having that thought along with the knowledge and your psyche and psychological process that acquire. So once you acquire, you store, you hold on to it, retrieve, so you bring out information and transform it. And so it changes. So the way you process. So when somebody's cognitive of something, they're aware of it. Okay. What's knowledge? Knowledge is an awareness of facts, a familiarity with individuals and situations, or a practical skill. Knowledge of facts, also called propositional knowledge, is often characterized as true belief that is distinction from opinion or guesswork by virtue of justification. Sorry. While there is a wide agreement among philosophers and propositional knowledge is a form of true belief, many controversies focus on justification. This includes questions like how to understand justification, whether it is needed at all, and whether something else besides it is needed. These controversies intensified in the later half of the 20th century due to a series of thought experiments called Gator cases that provoked alternative definitions. So I think they're pretty much saying if there has to be a belief or justification behind this. So like, does it need to be justified? The knowledge is an awareness of facts, a familiarity with individuals and situations, or a practical skill. So what you know. So, what is an awareness of facts? Declarative knowledge is an awareness of facts that can be expressed using declarative sentences. It is also called theoretical knowledge, descriptive knowledge, propositional knowledge, and knowledge that is not restricted to one specific use or purpose and can be stored in books or on computers. So declarative knowledge. So when you say something, express you in declarative sentence is called a theoretical knowledge or descriptive knowledge, propositional knowledge, and knowledge that it is not just restricted to one specific use or purpose and can be stored. Okay. Epistemology is the main discipline studying declarative knowledge. Among other things, it studies the essential components of declarative knowledge. According to a traditionally influential view, it has three elements. It is a belief that it is true and justified. As a belief, it is a subjective commitment to the accuracy of the believed claim, while truth is an objective aspect. To be justified, a belief has to be rational by being based on good reasons. This means that mere guesses do not amount to knowledge, even if they are true. In contemporary epistemology, additional or alternative components have been suggested. One proposal is that no contradicting evidence is present. Other suggestions are the belief was caused by a reliable cognitive process and that the belief is infallible. I mean, infallible meaning that it can't be wrong. Awareness. In philosophy and psychology, awareness is the perception of knowledge of something. The concept is often synonymous with consciousness. However, one can be aware of something without being explicitly conscious of it, e.g. blind sight. The states of awareness are also associated with the states of experience, so that the structure represented in awareness is mirrored in the structure of experience. So pretty much if what you experience day to day, awareness is knowing is happening, or that you're on to something, that you know about it. Oh, we're almost reaching the end of the page, so we're gonna go back to the show. Psychology is the scientific study of behavior and mind. Its subject matter includes the behavior of humans and non-humans, both conscious and unconscious phenomena, and mental processes such as thoughts, feelings, and motives. Psychology is an academic discipline of immense scope, crossing the boundaries between the natural and social sciences. Biological psychologists seek an understanding of the emergent properties of brains, linking the discipline of neuroscience. As social scientists, psychologists aim to understand the behavior of individuals and groups. So when we talked about philosophy in ancient Greece, where they studied physics and psychology, now we understand why, because it is you're pretty much studying behavior and mind. So you're studying what is happening, like the meanings of things. I understand now why it diverged from there, because more knowledge has come about how different minds and different hormones and different brains process things differently, and that affects behavior. But also, I understand why the ancient Greeks were not far off on studying psychology as part of philosophy. I'm gonna switch these guys over here so you can see them better. Okay. So behavior. So I spelled it in the British English. I don't know why I did that. I know how to, I usually spell it in the English version of behavior. If you don't know, there's two different ways of spelling it. One had the American English has a U, does not have the U, and in the British form of the word behavior, it has a U. I don't know why I wrote it in the British form. That was weird. And now that I'm looking at it in the American version, it looks weird. That weird just looks weird to me. So is the range of actions of individuals, organisms, systems, or artificial entities in some environment. These systems can include other systems, organisms, as well as the inanimate physical environment. It is the computed response of the system or organisms to various stimuli or inputs, whether internal or external, conscious or subconscious, overt or covert, and voluntary or involuntary. While some behavior is produced in response to an organism's environment, extrinsic, usually used to say intrinsic behavior can be the product of intrinsic motivation, also referred to as agency or free will. Taking a behavior informatics perspective, a behavior consists of actor, operation, interactions, and their properties. This can be represented as a behavior of vector. So a behavior is anything that someone does. Lois Foca, welcome. So it can be the result of stimuli or voluntary. You can want to do something or not want to do something. It can be thought out or not thought out. It's just a response to something or the way you react. So American English. Well, we're coming back. Look at American English. It's the language spoken by the show we're watching. American English, sometimes called United States English or U.S. English, is the set of varieties of the English language native to the United States. English is the most widely spoken language in the U.S. and is an official language in 32 of the 50 U.S. states. It is the de facto common language used in government, education, and commerce in all 50 states. The District of Columbia and all its territories, except Puerto Rico de jure, there is no official language in the U.S. Most people don't know that there is no official language in the U.S. At the federal level, as there is no federal law designating any language to be official. However, Executive Order 14224 of 2025 declared English to be the official language of the U.S. and English is recognized as such by federal agencies. Since the late 20th century, American English has become the most influential form of English worldwide. So I didn't know that. That's new knowledge to me. That this executive order, we all know that a lot of executive orders went into play, and now this executive order 14224 of U.S. of 2025. So this is a new development with all those executive orders that President Trump put into place. Declared English to be the official language of the U.S. and English is recognized as such by federal agencies. Since so that is this 2025. So if you guys didn't know that, 2025, this executive order 14224 of of this year declared English to be the official language in the U.S. I'm glad I read that because I had no idea. English has become the most influential form of English worldwide. Yes, you don't see generally people speaking British English around the world. When they speak English, they usually speak American English. and it has become like French before it, the word of the language of diplomacy, pretty much. Um, when you speak to someone, you generally, if you're gonna talk to each other and you're from different countries, you generally de facto language is English. Sorry, I want to write that executive order down. 14, 14224. In social linguistics, a variety, also known as a lect or an isolect, is a specific form of a language or a language cluster. This may include languages, dialects, register styles, or other forms of language, as well as standard variety. The use of the word variety to refer to the different forms avoids the use of the term language, which many people associate only with the standard language, and the term dialect, which is often associated with non-standard language forms thought of as less prestigious or proper than the standard. This is very true. Linguistics speak of both standard and non-standard vernacular, so like a vernacular, varieties as equally complex, valid, and full-fledged forms of language. Lect avoids the problem in ambiguous cases of deciding whether two varieties are distinct languages or dialects of a single language. Variation at the level of the lexicon, such as slang and argot, is often considered in relation to particular styles or levels of formality, also called registers, but such uses are sometimes discussed as varieties as well. So varieties are different forms of the language. Okay, this is the last one I'm going to look up, social linguistics. I'm going to associate all this to the show. Social linguistics is the descriptive scientific study of how language is shaped by and used differently within any given society. The field largely looks at how a language varies between distinct social groups and under the influence of assorted cultural norms, expectations, and contexts, including how the variation plays a role in language change. Social linguistics combines the older field of dialectology within. Reading this has definitely challenged my the way I read things, and with the social sciences, in order to identify regional dialects, sociolects, ethnolects, and other varieties and styles within a language. So social linguistics, descriptive science, study of how language is shaped by and used different. So it's the study of how each society changes how old language is spoken, which is pretty important, because you see somebody who was raised blue collar, it actually speaks not completely different, but like they have difference in the way they speak with somebody who was raised in a wealthier background. All right, and then we're gonna circle back to Nobody Wants This. I wonder how I'll look up how many things I clicked on. Nobody Wants This. Oops. No, not IMDb. My brain cannot work it. Okay. All right, so yeah, and now we want to know how all this um, that I was reading and talking about how it all comes to play with the movie. I mean, the show. So right now, they're using their thoughts, they're using their philosophies in life to have this conversation. Um, they're using the English language that we know came from, that is a romance language that came from ancient Latin, from vulgar Latin or Latin. Um, uh, there's a genre of romantic. This is a rom-com show, which is a subgenre of romance and comedies, or fiction, or and genres come from the French word. It has kind or sorts. So this is a romantic comedy about a couple or two individuals who have come together because they felt a connection, and they are using the knowledge they have acquired individually to have this relationship and talk to each other using the English language that has been influenced throughout time by many, many other languages. And they are facing their problems together. The main leads right here, Adam Brody's character, what's his name? I forgot his name. I gotta look it up. I know the actor's name, I just don't remember the character's name. What's his name? You know, for some reason I thought it was her name, but his name is Noah. I didn't know that. When they first meet, it's very biblical. Noah Rocklov. And her name is Joanne. Oh, did they even give her a last name? As of right now, I don't see a last name. Maybe she has one. I just can't remember. But her name is Joanne. So here's their character descriptions. Joanne is a sex and dating podcaster, and Noah is a rabbi. If you don't know what a rabbi is the spiritual leader in the Jewish faith, introduced to Joanne by her best friend Ashley. So if you haven't seen the show yet, sorry, I forgot I was on a different tab. They met in season 1 at Joanne's friend's party. Her name's Ashley, and she is a podcaster, and she talks about her dating life and how she has a hard time meeting people that she can relate to or hit it off with, which is played perfectly when she met Noah, because he was somebody she had witty banter with. She had tons of chemistry, you can see between the scenes and the characters. And she mistakes him as a divorce guy and somebody who she generally goes after, but she doesn't get the same feeling off of him that as like of the people she generally does go date, which end up being bad for her. And she didn't know that her friend set her up. Well, she knew she was being set up, but she didn't know her friend set her up with not this guy, but some other guy, which is a divorcee who was not a very nice person. Once she finds out that he's a rabbi, she believes that they can't have any further interaction because he's such a good person and a spiritual leader, and she believes herself not to be a good person or somebody who can attract good in her life. She deals with a lot of turmoil, in for a little bit. Oh, hey Diana. Thanks for coming in. She deals with her own turmoil of her parents' marriage that really affects her life. Our parents' marriage, that they stayed together even though her dad is gay, and her mom said like isn't still in love with her dad, and that really affected her perception of her current dating situation, or and her how she sees the world. When she meets Noah, she wasn't open to having a good relationship, but she wanted one. And one of the biggest influences in her life, besides her parents, is her sister, who is very cynical about her when she starts dating him. You need to finish the second season. Yeah, I'm going over it because I made a review about it, and I'm not even sure like about what I said. So I'm going through it more carefully, and you missed the whole tangent I went on for it. Right now I'm discussing the show, but like, and I was in for like almost 2 hours and I was not discussing it. So when they meet, he had just ended a really long relationship with the ideal girl that his entire family. The first season was good. Yeah, when they meet, as you know, Diana, he was coming off of a long relationship with the ideal girl that his parents love. She fit in perfectly with his family and the ideal of a rabbi's wife, and she had a dodgy dating history. She is having a hard time finding someone she can connect to emotionally, that can challenge her. So they were prime for the taking to each other when they met each other at her friend's Ashley's party, and they hit it off instantly. But a series of misunderstandings leads them not to have further communication till later on, because they could literally not stop thinking about each other. So they continue with their lives. He continues being a rabbi. She goes on these blind dates. She's been set up. She uses these dates actually to talk about on her podcast with her sister. That is what she does for a living. And she's like in the middle of this date, and she realizes that she does not want to be here. She wants to explore the feelings she has for this guy she met that left such a big impression on her. So she dips out in the middle of this date, and she runs after him, comes to his temple where all his family was, and she was judged so harshly for being of the non-Jewish faith. And people could tell right away that she was not Jewish and that she didn't belong there. But he didn't see any of that. He just saw her and she just saw him. And they really were pretty optimistic at this point. And they were like two magnets, couldn't stay away from each other. So they start dating and really fall into this, like, their chemistry, and they can't stay away from each other. And so we get a cute montage of their dating days. And the reason I said in my video that season 2 felt pretty similar to season 1, it was because I feel like they followed the same formula. I still kind of stand by what I said, but I'm gonna rewatch it to be able to say something different. But I believe that season 2 followed the same formula of, we got to see them bring up the problems they had, which is her converting to the Jewish faith, because that is what's expected of a rabbi's wife, and him expecting her to change his faith in order for them to be together. He's thinking that she only needs time to change her mind, and we don't know about that yet. And then you have their cute montage in season 2 of them dating again, and going a little further into their chemistry is on point. you know, that's like the best thing the show has going for it. It has pretty pretty witty banter. Their lines are, oh man, they bounce off of each other so well, and but their chemistry is top notch. It really is. And I did see some behind the scenes footage of like the sisters that actually developed the show. So the two sisters are, I think, based off of them, off of like the two sisters who created the show, and I believe that they both are like kind of like burying their heads in the ground, in the sand, in the way that they're approaching it, because she's waiting for something, this big revelation to happen to her, in order for her to believe that she needs to convert. The two sisters created the show are hilarious. Yeah, they're pretty funny. I saw their little special. Two great comedians. Yeah, they had to be to write the lines from the show. The lines are very well written and have excellent comedic timing. Adam Brody and Kristen Bell are great performers. They can bounce off each other like nobody's business. And I used to watch their other shows from yeah, he was on the OC and she was on Veronica Mars. I used to love me some Veronica Mars, and she was also the voice of Gossip Girl. Yeah, so like you know, in season 1, they start dating. They are facing the challenges of being an interfaith couple, and their families are. You have Gossip Girl, Blake Lively. I don't know. She's not my fave. She wasn't even my fave on the show either. Like most people, Blair and Chuck were like the best, I think, out of the cast, but they got in each other's way so bad. I know his real life is with Lee Mister. Yeah, she comes out on the show. She's pretty funny. She's like kind of insane. Like, it's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, Lee Mister comes out in season 2 of Nobody Wants This, and she's pretty funny. They have she's like kind of like frenemies with Kristen Bell's character, Joanne. And he's like, can't wait to see her. Yeah, she's pretty funny. Whatchamacallit, he's like, he leaves his temple to find his own path, like his own. He feels like he'll never be able to grow in the temple where he was at, so he kind of quits. You got to episode 2 last night. Oh, okay, sorry. Spoilers. I'll try not to spoil it too much. So he's trying to explore more of his life and where he fits in, considering I think he thought that he was pretty set on where he was and where he wanted to go in season 1. That's kind of a big difference, because he's questioning pretty much how he's gonna see. He'll watch regardless. Yeah, it wasn't like a massive spoiler. He's like exploring his new path of where it's gonna take him. Not having this clear picture that he had in season 1, which is that was a good addition to season 2. I did like that he joins a new temple, which is really different from his like previous temples, or what his where he's used to, and you can see that in the way his character reacts to the new people that he meets at this new temple. And Joanne's pretty much having this crisis of faith, which is funny considering I don't think she believed that she had like a faith before, but I guess you really start questioning what you believe in once you're confronted with the idea of changing, the idea of changing your what you believe, and accepting these preconceived notions of a different faith, or especially something like Judaism that has a clear concept of rules and a way of conducting yourself. And it's really interesting to see her struggling to, in season one she was like, I'll convert, it's no big deal. I just have to follow these certain type of things. I have to say these certain type of things. But it turned out it's not just, and she goes into it more deeply, knowing that it's not just following or saying these certain types of things that makes her Jewish or follow Judaism. She wants to believe that in this religion, I feel like she wants to give it the respect that it merits, and she wants to respect also herself in that she doesn't want to accept something that she doesn't believe in. So just because she needs to fit in, and I feel like she's never been hello, oh, okay, I saw that message a while ago. She is not the type of person to just accept something because it is so. She's intuitive, and she questions things, and I think it's very important, something to have somebody, especially like me, who I don't believe in these preconceived notions of religion. I believe man made these rules, and they expect people to follow, and just because they say so and it's in this book, I don't want to question anybody's faith. But in what I believe is that if you're a good person, then that's how you act. The Bible to me is, or the like, these religious texts are these norms that you have to follow, and they're good because society before was out of control, and they're a way to, like, sort of like rules or laws. They're a way to help society become one. It joins societies. It calms. It gives people something to look forward to, and I think she's really struggling with finding a way and how it fits to her. Her mom embraces becoming Jewish in like 2 seconds, and she's like, oh my God, that's not how this works. You have to think it through. But for some people, it is how it works. They just feel an instant connection to this. She just does not. She feels that she has to struggle, and I guess, see or feel this spark between her and the religion. And I think, I don't know if we're gonna see a resolve to that in the next season. I hope we do. But I think that's a lifelong struggle that just can't be resolved in like 1 or 2 seasons. And which is good, because if she would have just accepted it in the season 1, like how it showed, it would have been too easy. And I really do like that they challenged us with that. And let's see, a little longer. All right, so we talked a little bit about them. So her sister here, she hides things that she believes that she's gonna be judged on, and she does things sometimes without thinking. But we don't get to see her everyday life, considering she's not the main lead. So we don't get to see her thought process as good as we would if she was the main character. It's the same, and you can see how she struggles with not being in a traditional relationship. She gets a relationship, and she hides it because she feels like she's gonna be judged. and she judges her sister like crazy. See, and that was like news to him. She thought right there at the beginning they were all happy-go-lucky. They were like having their first dinner party, and then they had their friends over, and they're like, "Oh, so you guys are making this work?" And he was in the idea that she was gonna convert, and she was in the idea that they were gonna do an interfaith relationship, and right there, without their communication, and without the external stimuli of their friends, I think they would have kept that buried for a while. No, Santa. I, I love how they became friends with the sister-in-law, his Noah's sister-in-law. She hated them at the beginning of season 1, and she has really embraced them. Hopefully you meant to finish tonight. Yeah. Finish tonight and let me know how you liked it. I'll probably keep analyzing a little longer. I feel like there's a lot to unpack. That's why I'm like kind of disappointed in my video, because there was a lot to unpack, and I was trying to do it under a minute, but it's too much in it to talk about. That's why I'm doing a live about it, because there's so much to talk about that 1 minute video didn't cover it at all. So his sister-in-law really hated them in the beginning. I think because she thought that she had to hate them. She kind of is going through her own personal crisis around this time. Her and Noah's brother, God, I forgot his name. I'm terrible with names lately. They have this. They looked really solid in season 1, but you start to see the cracks at the beginning. I mean, well, you see the cracks in season 1, like around her controlling him and him dismissing her, and then in season 2, we're starting to see like a lot of fissures in their relationship, where she's questioning if she even wants to be in that relationship, and he's having more chemistry with Joanne's sister than his own wife, and I think she wasn't even mad about it, you know? She was okay with the relationship that they had, and these two shared a lot of chemistry, and they're witty, and they remind you a lot of the lead characters, without having like any romantic interest in each other. And I think her not even having, like, she didn't even really care by the end that they were friends. And you start seeing that she doesn't, they break the issue of babies, not having another kid, and she doesn't look like she wants one. He does. Is that right? Okay. I don't think it's vice versa, but one of them doesn't want to have another kid, because they're about to become empty nesters soon, and the other one does want another kid. And this really brings strife into the relationship, to the point where they have a big blowout by the end. Well, it's not a blowout because it was really simple. So just the same formula of season 1. We get to see the couple back together, the chemistry they have, the differences in their families, and then we get to see. All right, I hope you have a good one. I'll probably come back on later tonight. Have more gathered thoughts after my research, and then you get to see their dating montage again. How they are, and bye. I'll see you later. And then you get to see the like problems that they keep pushing aside, and it's still it's still very much a problem between their relationship. And then Christ is like understanding and faith. Christ is in. He has a crisis of like, what's his future gonna look like now that he's not in this world that he expected to be in for a long time. He thought he would get the head rabbi position and become the perfect concept of married with his wife, and he was just gonna lead the temple, and that's not where he's at anymore. Now he's like exploring his options. And with the two main leads, chemistry. I don't know if the show would be the same. The script is there. The development of the show is there. It's just they really chose well with the two main leads. I think they carried it, and the two second leads, they're outstanding actors as well, which they provide much needed chaos to much needed chaos to the show, and it's like good chaotic, I feel. All right, and I think that's like most of what I wanted to talk about. This is season 1 trailer. Yeah, he's not what you would picture a rabbi to look like, which is good to take care of that preconceived notion that all rabbis are like these older gentlemen. To me, they're always like older with like, we're gonna go with the, what's called Yentl look. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so he it really comes down to like them thinking that they're headed in one direction. They meet each other. Definitely derails their plans, and adds new challenges to their lives. And I'm really excited to see if, well, I don't know if they got the green lit for a season 3, but I'm really excited to see how they develop now that they realize they really can't be without each other. They've tried breaking up like 100 times, and they realize they cannot be without one another. And I'm really excited to see how they're gonna play that out in season 3. And I feel like there's so much more to unpack, but I will make another episode, and we'll see how it goes. All right, I hope you guys have a good day. Enjoy watching Nobody Wants This. Still #1 on Netflix on TV shows. And let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I hope you guys have a good day. Bye. All right, what were you saying? How long hours I gonna be on?
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to do like around 3 hours, but I cut it out right now. My throat's kind of
Well, you
numb.
gotta determine that special, because if this is the day that they're not in school, but right now you
Yeah,
would've
I know.
had to
I know. That's why I wanted to do it early.
make lunch when you didn't do, go get her, and then come back and make dinner.
Bye, guys. All right, how do I end this live? Why don't I see the end live button? What in the world? Oh, I just had to exit.